Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friend Preston Poulter and his book Palace of the Golden Princess, which offers a fun, sexy romp through a fantasy RPG setting run by women. Issue 3 is actually on Kickstarter right now, and right now Preston's actually offering a free PDF of issue 1 if you sign up for his email at pocketjackcomics.com, so you can try it before you buy it. So there you go, everybody. So that's kind of what you can check out and do and all that fun stuff. But enough about that, because I have with me Miss December Lace, and obviously December Lace, you're known for a lot of things. A lot of things. Obviously, one of the things that a lot of people know you for is that you call out people who aren't delivering on their Kickstarters.
Okay, so what did I tell you before we even started this? I told you that I do a lot of stuff, not just that. Also, try it before you buy it sounds like my moniker.
But, and you've also, there was an incident that you're known for. But before we get into all that, I do think it is interesting we do, because you are a professional wrestler.
I was, yeah.
I don't think you ever leave. I think you
That's true.
I think you retire. I think you have a final match. I think you leave your boots in the ring, but I don't think it ever leaves you. That's all I'm going to say about wrestling. I am not a wrestler, so I cannot speak about that. But that's my take on it. Where Triple H is still a wrestler, just because he's not wrestling doesn't mean that he's not a wrestler. But you also do a lot of cosplay. I think you've done some poetry. I think you've written some stuff, and so why don't you tell everybody who you are? Because I think that's the part that has been missed. And I think people don't know everything that you've done prior to what kind of got you a little bit of attention. And I think it's a fair discussion starting point.
Well, since we don't have all night, I can't tell you everything I've done. But yes, you are correct. I was a professional wrestler for 8.5 years. And no, I technically never did retire. I never left my boots in the ring, and I was never pinned for my final match. I won. I went out a hero, because that's who I am. I have written poetry. It's all for free on my blog, which is decemberlace.blogspot.com. You can read it all there for free. Some of it you might have to buy in an anthology, but it's on Amazon, and it's less than a cup of coffee at your local baristas. And it's won, well, it's not won an award, but it's shortlisted for an award too. I got 5th place for one of them, Molotov Cocktail. I've also gotten Best of the Net the same year for short story and poetry. And then I do cosplay. You might have seen me as the Mighty Mite from CB Zane. That's a fan favorite. And what were you talking about? The incident? I do stir up trouble, but what I'm mainly known for is during the pandemic, I would bring attention to the artists. Since there were no cons anymore, I brought the fans that I still had from wrestling to the comic book artists so that they would still have traffic and attention from fans. I would bring them to the comic book artists.
So I definitely want to talk about you as a wrestler coming into more of the comic space, coming into the writing space, because what I find is that wrestling is a very unique medium, and it is storytelling. It is engaging. You have to interact with fans. Obviously, if you're the heel, for those who are not familiar, heel is a bad guy, or if you're a face or a baby face, you're the good guy, and you got to either get the crowd on your side or make the crowd hate you. And so what was that like, transitioning from wrestling more into this media space? Because they have similarities and they're also very different on what can be done, who's needed, safety concerns, and a variety of other stuff. So what was that like? Because that's what I think is fascinating about you in particular, is it's nice to see somebody have, I guess, a second career, for lack of a better word, outside of the square circle.
Well, for safety concerns, there's no need for them because I'm my own safety. Like, I trained in the ring, so I think that a lot of you forget that. I am a real trained performer. I did all of my own stunts, as you would call them. So when I was a wrestler, yes, I did all of my own work in the ring. There was no stunt double for me. I was a fighter. I went to my own practice. I didn't pay my nanny to do any of my work for me. So as for safety concerns, fans for the most part are respectful. but I had to deal with my own scrapping back in the day, and I can handle myself now too. So that stands.
I just meant suplexing can be very painful. That's
Oh,
all
you
I
know
meant.
that firsthand.
I'm going to just plead the fifth. I signed an NDA. I cannot speak about it.
Where is it? Let me see the NDA. That's what I thought. So I did my own work in the squared circle, and I can still. I was the champ then. I'm the champ now. 5 times. And all of you forget that, by the way. So when everybody's like, "Oh, December's running her mouth," it's like, yeah, because I can back it up.
Isn't the phrase Eminem? I talk a lot of shit, but I can back it all up. I think he says that.
I don't say dirty words like that.
But anyway, the reason why I bring this up is that I think it's really interesting because when you do transition from one media into another media, which is the whole con space and getting into comics and getting into the whole cosplay area, it is really interesting because some people I feel from wrestling transition well to media and transition well to something else, and others just flop out. I mean, we've seen it with the top guys like John Cena, The Rock, and then there's been a few others who are movie stars, but then we've also seen other people just flop right out. And to me, you've obviously really done well, obviously in the cosplay stuff that you've done, being part of the comic community. And what is that like? Because I think wrestling really gave you an advantage of understanding story, understanding how to interact, understanding how to communicate with your fans, both physically and in person, also online. And so what is that like? Because I think that is what makes you so interesting, more so than anything else. And I don't think you get enough credit for it.
Well, thank you. First of all, those are words that makes this little cheerleader, my heart feel very big. I actually didn't really mean to do anything with comics on this level. I actually just I saw all the comic people not getting the credit that they deserved, and I wanted to help. That's really as simple as it came down to. The fans that stuck with me, I was grateful for, and comics and wrestling are such a common pool of interest. And I thought that if I liked comics so much, that the fans that I had still would like them too. So I bridged them together as best as I could. And thankfully, they have great taste like I do, and they ended up liking the same artist that I did. So it just kind of, I've heard other people say you never really get into comics, you kind of fall into comics. And I feel like that's what happened there. I set out to write when I was smaller. I didn't really even think of being a wrestler as much as I did being a writer. I always did it, but wrestling was the thing that I ended up wanting to do more than anything, even more than comics. So I did that, and I'm proud that I did that. And then with comics and putting in a good word for the artists here, hopefully it does some good out there, because I do enjoy doing that now.
So let's actually talk about this, because I think one of the problems in comics right now is advocacy. I think it is very complicated, where I think a lot of people do not get enough credit for what they do. I think producing a comic book is incredibly hard. From just on a conceptual level, you have to come up with a story. You then have to give that story and find the right artist. Then you have to go find the right colorist. Then you have to go ink it, or if they ink it themselves, your artist does, great. Then you need to go find the right letterer. Then you might need to change certain things around depending on how the art is done. And then you actually have to go print it. And in that process, in those 10 to 15 steps, a variety of things can go wrong, from it being misprinted, from pages getting jumbled up, from other things going wrong, from colors being mixed up, for somebody not delivering the art, to funding the printing of it, to even paying people. And I think it is unbelievable that any comic book gets published, good, bad, or indifferent, because so many things can go wrong. And I think that collectively, if somebody publishes a book that's a feat on its own, and they deserve credit, and then when it's a great piece of art, when it's a great piece of writing, a lot of times I think this community, including myself, and I don't know how you feel, we take it for granted that even Marvel and DC produce monthly books or we get quarterly books from Kickstarter. I think we sometimes take that for granted, not realizing how much effort goes in, and that I don't know if fans are truly appreciative, saying, this person really hustled and worked their bottom off to get it done. And I do think it's very important that people advocate and champion some of these people, especially when they're first starting out, more so than any other time. I mean, I'll mention Pat Chan. It's great to champion Pat Chan, but it's also really important to champion a guy named Paul Gomez, who is at the start of his career too. And I think we as a community don't do that. And I think that's what you do in a lot of ways. I think it's so important.
I think that was extremely well said. And I think that a lot of people get very wrapped up in what's kind of going on in their lives to the point where they might forget that it is an extraordinary feat to do something that might be regarded as a simple thing for the big guys. They make it look so easy. And then when regular people do it, it might not come across as a big thing, but to me, it is. I've never written a book by myself, but to those that do, to me, that's huge. Just like to the people that they're like, I've never wrestled a match. To me, that's huge. To me, I've wrestled hundreds of times. It's not a big deal to me, but when they would come up to me and talk to me about it and that excitement to them, it's like that's what it's like to me when someone draws or when someone puts a book together. So when I'm cheering someone on and getting very excited for their first piece of work, I know that it might seem like I'm overly enthusiastic or gushing at their work, but no, I really am that excited to see it. I really do get that joyous because I can't draw at all. I can't do a stick figure, and I'm one of those people. So when I'm tagging people and I'm saying, get your name out there, make sure that I'm getting everybody, make sure that everybody has their name mentioned. I want you up there. I want everybody to get the right credit because it really is that hard to do. At least I think it is.
Do you also feel that there's also just so much where
Oh, absolutely.
I can give you in which that I can drop a bunch of great artists and you could drop a bunch of great artists, and I guarantee you we're not going to overlap on some of these people. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna go look at that person. You're like, oh, that person's great. I'm like, oh man, you told me who this person is, and they look great. And so sometimes I feel as somebody is that I'm always looking for people doing cool covers. Obviously, I just discovered somebody. I just discovered who Sam Payne was, and I picked up.
I love Sam Payne. He's awesome.
I don't know Sam Payne personally, but I thoroughly enjoy Sam Payne's work.
Send him a message. He'll get back to you. He loves hearing from people. He is the nicest, sweetest guy. He is really cool, dude.
I thoroughly liked it. It was like that beach sort of new school-esque. I would describe it as kind of new school, a little papery, if that makes sense, like style. Like I don't know how to describe Sam Payne's style, but I've never seen anything like it before.
He's got a book that he just wrapped up his Kickstarter. He was working with a couple other artists. It's called
Vector. People who did Larry Weltz's book.
I think so. I'd have to double check on that. I know that his book is called Vector Girls. You can get it on his site. There's different covers for it. It is one of the best books on art of an artist that I have. I'm so glad that I have it. Sam Payne is awesome.
And the reason why I bring this up is that I didn't discover Sam Payne because of you. I just was browsing through, Larry Weltz's Cherry action figure. I'm like, oh man, who's this Sam Payne person?
Yeah.
Because and then I looked up a bunch of people. And I just came across same thing with Mako Fufu and a few others. So the point though is that there's so many things out there. It's not that I'm trying to miss anybody, but legitly, I think we're in a golden age where I have 50 choices of great artists that I could pick from, of following their work, seeing what they're doing, and it could be the flavor of the month. It's kind of like going to the ice cream aisle in Target now, where there's legitimately 200 flavors of ice cream in your Target, and it's kind of crazy. And so for me, I can't possibly get to everything. And that's why I think advocacy is so important. And not even so much in, hey, look at who this person is. Oh, look at what this person's doing. oh, this person just did this cover for these people. Oh, that's awesome. And it's kind of, I think a very important thing. And I think it's a thing that's lacking in the industry where, I'm not saying, and we need more people to do it. And I try, but I'm not very effective at it. And obviously, I think you're trying, and I think you're probably more effective than most, but it's not enough. And so, what is that like? Because it's not even about money, I would imagine. It's more about saying, hey, maybe you like this
Well,
person.
it's definitely not about money because I don't make anything doing it, and I don't want to. I don't want to take the artist's money. I don't think that that's right of me to do. I would never take. I'm actually trying to get them to make money. I would love for them to make a name for themselves. I would love them to be able to support themselves, especially because the pandemic. It's like this is their livelihood. This is what they need to do in order to
We're a
stop.
little bit different on that. What I want is I want to interview them. So I have no problem supporting, and I want to interview every single top artist because I don't want to. I mean, I'll say this very nicely. The way I make money is that obviously I have ads on my show, but I find that it's a mutual thing where an interview is so helpful, and that I want to help people. And if I could help people and make money at the same time, there's nothing in my view wrong with that. And
Well,
that's
I was thinking of doing that, but everybody just wants to talk about me anyway. It would just be so counteractive.
but I am extremely selfish because my favorite thing in the world is to talk to wrestlers and talk to artists that I have their work. But it's also a big promotion. And so for me, like that's why I love supporting artists. I love like putting up Instagram posts of their work. And if I love somebody's work, I want to interview them because I just want like an hour of their time to ask them questions about like how did you do this cover, because everybody loves this cover, and because that's what everybody wants to know. And so that's just how I am, because I'm a super fan on that front. But that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes though, I get downgraded to fan by it's kind of hard in that aspect because if some people don't have time for me, like in this isn't everybody. Some people are just they're very very nice and they're very happy that that a lot of people um are happy to pass their name around. But sometimes if there are people that don't have time for you anymore, you are no longer useful to them and you are now downgraded to fan, and that's all that you are anymore. So don't worry, people. I know my place. It's okay.
I have a solution for all those people too. Anybody who downgrades me as a fan, I've helped you out. That's fine. But life is a circle.
Yeah.
And I'm moving one way, you're moving the next way. We're gonna meet again. And maybe when you need me, I might not be around so much. And that this is why you have to keep up relationships with people. And I'm not saying you have to, keep up relationships all the time, but also sometimes what I've learned is that maybe it's just a bad time to ask people for certain things. And I have plenty of people who say, hit me up in 6 months. And then I hit them up in 6 months. Like, you actually responded in 6 months? And like, I've gotten interviews that way where, some people understand how to be a professional and others don't. And it's a very complicated word where I had a friend, Dustin Burnell, say it really well. A lot of people are doing comics. Very few people are professional in this industry. And it's collective across everything. It's very collective in wrestling. It's very collective, I think, in cosplay. I think it's very telling in comics. And I think in voice acting, if I didn't already mention that, it is also extremely honest because the people who stick around are quote unquote professionals. But I could be wrong. I mean, you could disagree with me at any point. I'm always open to disagreement because I could be wrong too.
If I disagree, I'll let you know. Everybody that knows me will tell you. I won't sit there and pretend that I agree with something that I don't.
But and this is what I thoroughly enjoy though about your Instagram, and even going further into this, is that you share out people's work, and you don't just share out indie work. You share out a lot of Zenoscope. I love Senku Manaki. I was technically her first interview, but it was published after Zenescope interviewed her. So they kind of get that win. But I did get to interview Sen Kumanaki, and we had a great conversation. And I love her work, and I was just brave enough to ask. And so I also was teaching Sen Kumanaki about grading books, because she didn't understand CGC, which is a whole different beast in of its own. We spent like an hour and a half explaining it, because that's my wheelhouse. I love comics and I love investing in comics. But what is that like for you? Because you go from Zenescope to an indie Kickstarter to somebody else's book to something like Gun Honey. I don't know if you've Nathan.
I love Gun Honey.
I love Gun Honey too.
You probably love it for different reasons than I do.
I really, really like Warren Ellis's Warren Lau's covers. I think it's Warren Lau, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do I.
I really like that cover. It's beautiful. No, it's not for sale. Don't ask. I'm not interested in selling. I have no problem selling my Will Jacks. My Will Jacks have made me money. But I like Gun Honey because it's simple. It's a simple, easy story with awesome covers.
I love the entire hard crime line that they do, actually. So they have, they did Peepland. They did, what was it? The girl who electrified Tesla. That was really good. And they also did the girl who handcuffed Houdini, Minky Woodcock. Those are good.
I have to look into this now.
Yeah, they're all in trades now. The individual covers are fantastic, but like I just recommend getting the trades. I think that there are 6 issues. They're either 4 or 6 issues, but they're so good, and they're all under the line of the hard case crime.
I really, really like Charles Aldry, I think I don't know how to say his last name. He's a fascinating individual. I don't know how much you know about him and his background. He was very involved in one of the leading top like financial firms in the world. And it's kind of crazy, his entire background and how he is very heavy into the whole hard crime and stuff and I think it's like a whole publishing house like that he's part of, which is crazy. And it's just his story is just absolutely fascinating. And then we get a story like Gun Honey, and just Gun Honey for me was just easy to understand, took me out of my world for maybe 25 minutes every single month for 4 months. And then it was also nice because it was short. It was 4 issues. I'm sorry to say this, but when you have a 50 issue run of Batman, that's a huge time commitment for me.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. It's a huge time commitment. It requires a lot of space. 4 issues does not require a lot of space.
My thing lately is when there's a lot of branching off into you have to get this issue and then it goes into this one for 2 issues and then you have to get this one. I'm like, dudes, I love you guys, but I'm not doing this. You guys have done this for like, I think there was a couple of series that did that. It was like the bigger guys, and there's like so many. There's like an actual checklist. When it hits the checklist, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Please stop doing this. I can't.
I really enjoyed so the last big few things that I've done is I did Civil War, but I did that in trades. So I read all Civil War correctly, might I add, in trades, which was nice. But doing it in a trade versus single issues is a whole different ball game. I did Fear itself. Also did that in hardcover because I had a surgery back in 2007, 2008, and I was bedridden for 6 to 8 weeks. So what was coming out was Fear Itself and Blackest Night. Awesome books. And then Blackest Night was the other that I read in hardcovers and trade paperbacks. So yeah, but I agree. Where once you get a checklist, it's just like, God help you. Just no. I can't do it. But that actually leads me to wondering your opinion on this. Is that where do you think the industry is actually going? Because we're going to dive into your Kickstarter advocacy and your indie advocacy in a second here, but I am curious where you think the whole comic industry is going, because
I don't think
obviously,
it's fair to ask me that. I am so low on the totem pole. I am
but
a
everybody
fan.
has an opinion.
I couldn't tell you that. I can tell you where I'd like to see it go, and like I would like to see everybody just calm down, be nice to each other, because there is a place for everybody, and everybody is so fearful that they don't have a spot. There isn't a niche for everybody, and there is,
Let,
and
let's
every huh.
let's dive into that, because I think on Kickstarter in particular, I mean, I'm going to leave the big guys out for a little bit at least on this question because of this topic. I think every comic should have a fair shot on Kickstarter. And I'm a free market capitalist guy. So if you have a good idea, you market it correctly, you push it out, and you hustle, I think you deserve as much of a shot as somebody else, whether you're doing a horror book, a superhero book, a children's book, or a vampire demonic book. I think that you should have as much a shot as anybody else. And I think what's happened is that people don't like certain genres. People have problems with each other, apparently for no good reason or some good reasons. I mean, there are reasons why people don't like each other, and there's really stupid reasons why people don't like each other in this industry, for lack of a better word. And then on top of that, I also feel every creator says there's a limited amount of money that every customer has, where a customer only might have $100 or $200 a month at the most on Kickstarter. And if they're spending it with person A, that means they're not going with person B, C, D, or E. And that's where I think people have to realize that, yeah, that's true. But also, if they really like your product and it fits their vein, there is an audience out for you that has the money and they're willing to spend it on your product. And I think that's where I think the problem is rooted in, is that there's a lot of fear of, is my book going to fund? And if they're spending with person A, they're not going to spend with me. And that's what I think the meanness and the hatred and people trying to mudsling at each other comes from. That's what I think. I'm curious what you think, because that's just what I've seen.
I think that if a person wants your book, then they'll get it. Just that's how it is with regular items, and that's how it is with everything on Kickstarter. Like it doesn't matter how their personal feelings are, and it doesn't matter how well it does matter how it's marketed, but it doesn't matter like how vicious you are going to be to this person. But it's like if you have a good product, it will sell, and there is space enough for everybody. So when they're like, oh, I only have $20 to spend this month, if you really want something, you'll break your budget a little bit. I know this because I've done it, and you know this because you've done it. The audience out there, I know that because you guys have all done it. It's down to that, like, well, I really shouldn't, but I'm going to.
Well, if anybody knew how much I broke my budget in the last 8 months, I think people be like, bro, the next beer's on me.
But it's like if you have a good product and it's really solid and you believe in it, then you'll be okay.
I know selling on eBay for a fact. I can tell when a customer is reaching and when they are at the end of a negotiation and that they push $5 beyond. I just know it. And I know it, and there's a way I hate to say this, but squeeze that extra $5 push, but they will make it a priority to get something. I just got in an item today. I actually got a pre-order in today, and it sold within like 2.5 hours. And I know that customers were reaching for it and pushing it and making sure that they got it. And somebody basically went above and beyond to secure it. So I completely understand that. I just think that there's this whole fearfulness because, in my opinion, at the very least, is that a lot of people outlay cash on Kickstarter and they're terrified that they're not going to fund. And I think that a lot of people have this mentality of how do I get media? And it's negativity pushing it, and that if they say something negative or they watch a fight, it creates a car crash effect. And I think that's driving a lot of the traffic we're seeing. If you actually, I mean, Gary Vee talks about this. I love Gary Vee. Um, he says kindness will win the war. And I tend to think it will overall, because I think there's been a shift actually in the whole comic ecosphere where I think people are getting sick of the toxicity. I really do.
You know who has the best Kickstarters? And I'm being completely serious. Like the absolute best Kickstarters, like in terms of quality and product, it actually is the nicest person. Like just a guess.
I mean, I can name a few that are pretty good that I've had. I mean, Brian Pulido. I just got a Brian Pulido product.
Wendy Steinshane, Naughty Fairies. 100% across the board. She bends over backwards for her fans. They get spoiled with goodies. She will make whatever you want to happen. She makes that happen, and she is the kindest person. So absolutely, like, without a doubt, that is the best Kickstarter out there on the market. It's price effective. Like, she gets the best medals. They look like glass. Like, and yes, so I do believe that kindness will win. It's not even because I work for her. Like, I work for her because she is the best. I'd tout that even if I didn't work for her. I would. But yes, like, absolutely.
I've never backed a campaign of hers. It just never just happened. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. So I can't speak to that. But
in that case, I've backed both. She wins.
Fair enough. I mean, I've had some great experiences with a lot of people who have done really good jobs. And then obviously I've had really bad experiences from people. And they're not terrible people. They're just bad at execution. Where there's a difference between, you could have the nicest person in the world and they could be a horrible executor in delivering a Kickstarter. And it's not so much the story, it's just that they're 2.5 years late and then there's a problem and they're awful at communicating. And they're the nicest person ever. They're just bad at executing, and they should hire somebody who's a manager to do it in reality. And then again, people have different skills without a doubt. And so
that's definitely a problem too. And that's why sometimes people, again, with the whole champion thing, when a lot of times people are having a rough time, when it's either not their strong suit or when it's hard for people to remember, when a lot of things are going on, like maybe a printer is slow, maybe there is a pandemic happening, maybe when someone contracts an illness that could cause them to ultimately perish. That's when things happen that I'm like, okay, like, I've never given an artist a hard time over taking a long time for fulfillment, because I've had an artist take about a year. It's just them fulfilling it. I get it. It's like, it's stuff happens, people get sick, there's a pandemic, I've lost people. That's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, because I would rather have them here and healthy and trying to work and make things better, because I know that they'll get it to me eventually. But when people are having severe issues, like, oh my God, it's been a year, I'm like, yes, there's also a very famous person right now that I know for a fact you would not give that person a hard time over fulfillment for a year. So why are you not giving that person a hard time? And then they have nothing to say about that. That's where my issue is.
I'll counter. So obviously something happened to somebody I know. I can't really say what it was, but they needed about 6 to 7 months off. Delayed something probably by about a year. No worries. Person couldn't communicate who hired them from a Kickstarter. And you know what it is? I sucked it up. It wasn't a big deal. You know, once everybody found out 4 months later, it was like, oh, no worries. We got it completely. Where it would say, hey, an emergency happened and the book's going to be delayed. You're going to have to trust me on this. And that was pretty much the update on Kickstarter. And it's like, okay, and then once more information came out. But I've also experienced where somebody moved the goalpost on Kickstarter, not changing the date. They moved the goalpost indefinitely. And this is where my sympathy starts changing, where somebody funded a floppy, did $9,000 on Kickstarter, and then they basically say their artist ran away with the money and that they're going to launch a Kickstarter for issue 1, and that all old backers from Kickstarter 1, I guess, that was supposed to do the graphic novel, are going to get the floppy for free for issue 1 when it funds, get the floppy for issue 2 when issue 2 funds, and get the floppy for issue 3. That to me is now when you're entering dangerous territory on Kickstarter, because you've now changed the goal.
That sounds like a different thing than what I'm talking about, though. I'm not talking about taking the money and running. I'm talking about, like, if they need extra time and you know that they're going to fulfill it, that's fine. But taking the money and running is never okay. Neither is funding something when you're not funding the other one. Like, if you're close and you know that it's getting to the launch date, like, I can see that it's not the best thing in the world, but taking the money and ditching, no, that's not all right.
Because the reason why I bring this up, and at least the way I start connecting it, is that in my opinion, what starts happening is that when emergencies happen, I am forgiving when there's communication. So I don't mind waiting a year as long as every month I'm getting an update. I think that is a minimum on crowdfunding and campaigns. And when this creator who did what I was describing, no communication for almost 14 months, like, to me, that is unethical.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Because
I'm big on communication.
And I understand that maybe you don't want to update every day saying, guys, I got another page done. I don't want an update.
Well, Kickstarter tells you have to do it every month also.
Yeah, I don't want an update every single week, but I think once a month is beyond reasonable. And I'm more than willing to forgive, more than willing to be patient with people, because I run an eBay business that's built in pre-orders in a lot of ways. And my customers are patient because they understand. And so a lot of people, I think, are very patient, saying, oh, it took another 30 days, no worries. But when I feel when we're going a year, 2 years, 3 years, a level of patience starts dissipating. That's just my opinion. After 3 years, if you haven't fulfilled your book, I mean, to me, your book is dead and you ran away with the money. And maybe people have a different opinion than I do, but I think after 3 years, if you couldn't figure out how to fulfill a book that was supposed to come out in 3 or 4 months after you got the money, that book is dead and it's gone. And I think that there needs to be a system that can potentially reclaim some of that money, or there needs to be bans on Kickstarter.
Yeah, Kickstarter won't help you either. That's a messed up thing. But right now, there's a 2-year one that I'm involved with. It's like anytime that you ask Kickstarter to step in and help you, they won't do anything.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm waiting for, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened, but I'm waiting for a report card on Kickstarter. I think every creator should have a report card, meaning that it should be reviewed both professionally by Kickstarter and by fans, and they should come up with a grading system. And I think every creator should have some type of report card saying ships on time, delivery on time, communication on time. It could be stars, it could be A through F, it could be whatever they want to do. It could be a score, it could be a number, because I think that would help. I then also think that what could potentially happen too is I would love, because Luke Stone does this, where he does Fund My Comic, and you can't run more than 2 outstanding projects. And so that's just how I feel, is that I think that on Kickstarter, you shouldn't be able to run 12 projects without having them fulfilled. I think you should be able to run 2, maybe 3, because I think that would also help too.
They do that, but then the creators start one under a different name, and I've seen this happen, and then that's how they bypass that. Also, I see Alton Simpson's in the house. Hello. I just started looking at the comments and I saw you.
I get distracted by the comments, everybody. And
I don't. It's more attention. I love Alton.
So this is why I wanted to speak to you also is that you
Hang on,
very much.
Alton's on and he has foil covers of me. Everybody go to Alton and request foil covers of me. They look awesome. Wendy made them too, the foil parts. And as for your question earlier, how I feel about bouncing from one cover like the big guys to the littler guys, I don't care who they are. If it's good art, it's good art. So I just post what I like.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good question. I wanted to get back to it.
No, because I think it's important. I think it's important. And I think that it's interesting that your Instagram is interesting because when you do go from Sun Kumanaki to Nathan Sarcisi, I think that's how you say his name. I might be. How is it pronounced?
Zerdy.
Zerdy. It looks very different than it's spelled.
Don't worry about it. You're on the right track now. It's okay.
I really, really, really like his gun honey stuff, and I'm really, really, really angry with Frankie Comics about it because I was supposed to get some from him, and that whole thing's a mess. But everybody knows how I feel about it. I spent like 9 hours in the last probably year talking about them. I'm still upset. It was the ones where she was like rainbowed out. I don't know if you know the cover.
I've seen it.
It's a beautiful cover.
Yes.
It's just and I know he's owed a lot of money from them too, both as a customer and I think as an artist. So
I don't know about that, so I can't speak to that.
As a customer, he is because I'm on the list and he's on the list, and I saw his name on the list, so I know that. And I can back it up too, so I have a defense if I'm wrong. But anyway, I digress. But it's. Go. I mean, the whole thing with the Kickstarter is that I just want accountability. That's what I really want because
I think that you're right in that. I think that the fans deserve that. The backers are financial investors, period, and they should have someone to hold the creators accountable if they're not doing their part. And Kickstarter is not doing that. I mean, you would think that a lot of the creators are doing a great job doing that. And it's sad because a lot of the ones that have a good name are getting almost punished by the ones that aren't doing a good job. But Kickstarter does not step in and help when help is needed. And I wish they would.
This is the conclusion I've come to. And this is a very controversial statement, is that my view of Kickstarter is that I am a customer to the creator. I am not a customer of Kickstarter. The creator is the customer to Kickstarter. So if there is a position where Kickstarter has to decide, I don't think Kickstarter directly cares about Andrew Davis, the backer, to Pat Shand. We'll use Pat Shand as an example. I don't think he's going to mind too much. If I back Destiny New York, I love Destiny New York. For first volume of that was great. If you haven't read it, it's a great series to read. It's a fun one. There's 6 deep, and there's a TV show coming of it. It's going to be exciting to see it. But I digress on that. But I don't think I am technically a customer of Kickstarter. I think I'm a customer of Pat Shand. I think Pat is the customer to Kickstarter. So, and it's a very controversial topic to analyze. And I've come to this conclusion. And look, this is an open debate. It's not a one size fits all. I'm sure everybody has a different opinion, but I don't think, as I was stating, Kickstarter really cares about moi. I think they care more about Pat Shand because Pat is bringing them money. He's the reason how they get their fees. He's their bread. I am Pat's bread, for lack of a better word. And I understand that it's kind of meta into meta. But that's just what I've come to the conclusion of. And I'm open to having a discussion about it with everybody and anybody. I don't think that it is just a statement that should be brushed off. I mean, this is like hours of thought that have come up in my world. And this took me about a year to come to this conclusion, but that's just what I think. But yeah.
Anybody who has seen the Octopus Tarot Kickstarter by Luna Charlotte you can read the comments and see that epic, and then you can make up your mind about that one, because that will go down the rabbit hole as to who is responsible. It's a very
I know that is your baby. I don't know anything about it.
it's not it's not a baby. It's just like it is a very interesting question that you posed, and I would love an answer as to who's accountable and who's responsible, because the creator isn't taking responsibility and neither is Kickstarter.
It also
So I would love some answers.
it also gets complicated. So what happens if I back a book on Kickstarter, right? And now I'm getting a book that I backed on Kickstarter, and then that book's in Barnes and Noble a month later. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I don't really feel ethically good about it. And what if I paid $100 for that book, but then that book's in Barnes and Noble for $40 a month later? Like, these are all complicated questions about ethics.
Well, I'll give you an ethic question, and it's about the question that you just did. Let's say that there's a Kickstarter exclusive edition of that book, and that book ends up at Barnes and Noble without your order from Kickstarter being fulfilled, because that's kind of what's going on right now. And the creator is like, "Oh yeah, I can't do anything, bye." And Kickstarter is also, "Yeah, we're not doing anything later." Then what do you do? And it's Kickstarter exclusive, mind you. So we're seeing Kickstarter exclusive items on.
I want to make sure I understand. So
yes.
We're going to rewind it. So is it that the book is going to Barnes and Noble with a different cover, or is it that cover that you were supposed to get as a Kickstarter exclusive? That was
so there are Kickstarter exclusive items that were made only for Kickstarter, that before the creator even distributed them to the people on Kickstarter, was selling them on her website, that were given to non-backers, that they got those items, and the investors, the backers, still have not gotten their items.
I mean, it's,
and she's claiming that they've been held up in shipping containers in China and she can't get them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's problematic. I think it's not just problematic. It's morally wrong, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Secondly, if an item is supposed to be Kickstarter exclusive, it should only be sold on Kickstarter. And if there's 10 left and somebody's selling it at a con, well, you know what is? We're all just gonna suck it up, right? I mean, I think we can all agree that if a Kickstarter item, there's 20 left and they're being sold at a con table, that's not the end of the world. Is it great? No. Is it ethically? Is it morally wrong? Is it the hill to die on? No. In those two circumstances. But if that Kickstarter item is now being printed in 10,000 units shipped to Barnes and Noble, and that creator says, "Oh, my hands are tied, I don't have it," and then I go to Barnes and Noble all excited, sipping my Frappuccino in Starbucks Barnes and Noble, and I see it, I'm going to say WTF, right? I'm going to say, why did I give this person my $25? So, and then it raises questions on, what do you do? I mean,
that's only some of what's going on. And that's just that one campaign. So there's lots of other campaigns.
I'll throw an example of what happened with Justin Hampton's book. I love Justin Hampton. He's printing the book in mass quantities. And so the book has gotten cheaper, but his Kickstarter was more money for all of his backers. But there's all these stretch goals. There's all these other stuff that's in, for the backers. So if you buy that book on Amazon, you're not getting all the goodies. So also his deal came later after sort of the success of the Kickstarter. But also if you backed early on, you got a free poster, a free print mini poster type thing that's limited to like 150, which could be worth a good chunk of money, of Pearl Jam of all people, which is sort of cool. So, and Justin Hampton is a poster artist who is well in demand. So, again, I don't have a problem paying an extra $60 for the goodies. Also, I wanted to support Justin Hampton. And so I don't mind in that circumstance. And also, if the book gets to somebody because Amazon got it a week and he's shipping them out on his own, and somebody from Amazon ordered it and gets it 2 weeks before me, again, I don't really care because they're not getting the goodies that are coming with the book. So that to me is not an ethical problem. It becomes an ethical problem if
Yeah, that stuff has happened like a lot before.
If the people from Amazon get it in September of 2023 and I don't get mine till September of 2024, we got a problem. But I completely get it. And believe me, I mean, I went through not Moss. I like Drew Moss, but Drew Moss has his own problems. Drew Ford with Silver Medal something by Trina Robbins. And I love Trina Robbins. She's the sweetest person ever. So nice. What a nice woman she is. Great writer, and she's just a wealth of knowledge. Like she's one of the OGs, like in women in comics. She's like one of the OGs. But like with Drew Ford's book, it was late, and stretch goals never came, and it was a disaster. So I don't know who's responsible, but I think Kickstarter should be. I think Kickstarter should be a percentage responsible. They're collecting what, like 8%? I mean, right? I mean, last time I checked,
if they take accountability for anything, I would be amazed. Because I mean,
this is where it becomes a legal question: is that if they're processing fees, they're granting creators the use of their platform. I don't know how much responsibility they have, because I'll give an example. If I slip and fall in Madison Square Garden could technically be responsible for it. Just because they didn't cause the slip and fall doesn't mean that they're automatically absolved from the problem. And so I don't know, and I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to profess to be one, but there is a position, and I think a fair argument saying, if they're allowing for people to use their platform and they're taking a fee and they're processing the use of it, how much responsibility do they have? And I don't think that and the question is that it's going to take a lawsuit. It's going to take somebody who has a lot of money to do this, and it's going to take a lot of lawyering. But if somebody's successful, it's going to change the ecosphere indefinitely. And this is what I think needs to happen at this point, because I don't think it's just one in a blue moon, these issues. I think these issues are coming up more and more and more. And I think they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I really do. I'm not optimistic on this. I'm not. You could plead the fifth. You could plead the fifth.
Of what?
I don't know.
You made a statement. I'm not debating it.
Fair enough. Usually when somebody's quiet, I don't know how they're reacting, and I'm like, oh snap, did I like cross a line? Like,
no. I mean, you made a statement. You're right. We could go hours and hours debating back and forth on it, or we could leave it at that, because I mean, it would go back and forth for hours on the subject. There is no answer.
Yeah. So, and then I think the final thing I want to talk about, and I purposely saved this for the last, is the thing that you're known for. Obviously, I view you as an advocate. You're more than an advocate. Obviously, you love comics, and you want to see a lot of creators succeed. And then there was an issue, and obviously it involved somebody who had counterfeit prints at a con selling them. I think you knew that one of them was Brian Politos, and the other was Nathan Zarzis or Zerzis or Hey, how do I say his name? I'm gonna just
Zerdy.
Zerdy.
Just take away the S. Look at it. Look at his name. Take away the S. There you go.
Gotcha.
There you go.
So it involved, I think, some of his prints, and then you took them, and then a bunch of other stuff happened, and I think a lot of people on the internet were like, yes, this is great. This is how it should be done. And I think it was necessary to do it. And I think the outcome was that at least this dealer wasn't making money off of somebody else's art, I think was the short stopgap for it. And then obviously there was a bunch of other stuff that happened afterwards that I think everybody doesn't know. But how did you get involved in that? Because that's what really, I think, put you on the map.
So I'll preface this by saying, and you already know this, but it actually made me really sad that people know me for that now, because I would rather people know me for helping artists rather than, oh my God, December's a badass. She made this guy take down all of his stuff. To me, when I was in wrestling, if someone was light on my payday, for example, I had to stick up for myself because no one was going to do it for me. So to me, this was something normal that I would have to do backstage, is tell somebody if they were doing something wrong, or if somebody was taking something from someone else, because no one was going to come to my aid. I had to be my own backup. In this case, Nathan's prints were being displayed at a con that I happened to be at. I didn't know who was going to be there and who was not, but I saw them and they looked a little off. Like, Nathan has a very distinct size to his prints, and I know that because my house is decorated in a ton of Nathan's prints. If you have any taste, then yours is too. So I noticed right away, and I walked up to the guy and I asked if I could see one up close, and I just noticed that the print quality was off. I checked with Nathan to make sure that he wasn't a licensed dealer, and when I found out he wasn't, I told him to please take them down, and I wanted to make sure that they weren't going to be displayed after that, like after I left the con, because I was about to leave. To me, that I was pretty sure that anybody else would just put them back up the second I left and start taking money for them. So Brian was with me, my boyfriend, and he helped me take them away from the con. I explained who I was and what I was doing, that he wasn't allowed to sell them because what he had done was illegally printed out Nathan's files and tried to distribute them. Brian Polito's Lady Death that Nathan had done was part of that, which is also a big no. And I know he had some of Jamie Tyndall and Alex Ross is there too, but I didn't get to apprehend those. But I took them all down. He gave me attitude. He's like, well, I don't think you know who you are, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, these are not yours, right? And he was a friend of Nathan's also, which made it that much more sad. But by the end, he was, I'm sorry, and like, just kind of, he knew that he was caught. So anyway, I took them away from the building, and Brian helped me, and then I stashed them in the car when we were getting ready to leave, and then I took a picture of it so that I could hopefully cheer Nathan up, because I know how I would feel if someone tried to do that to me, especially someone who used to be my friend. And then I disposed of them tastefully, because that's still Nathan's artwork, and I believe in being respectful, even if it's counterfeit. And that guy got sued. So it's illegal and it's BS, and artists need to look out for each other. And it led to a whole bunch of other people walking artist floors before conventions and making sure that nobody's making that dumbass mistake. So hopefully nobody else is going to do that again.
So let's talk about this, because it is tricky now, where obviously, you know, Nathan and Brian Polito cannot be everywhere at every single con.
Right.
I think there's 3,200 anime and comic cons.
December's everywhere, though. I'm everywhere, bitch.
You have a whole month dedicated to you. Let's just leave it at that.
That's right. Christmas, there are 12 days of Christmas. There are 31 days of December.
I figured you'd appreciate that joke, but
You're right.
But with 3,200 anime and Comic Cons, there's no way in hell every artist can watch their back. And I think it is complicated how people protect their work, both in a digital age and a physical age, because I hate to say this, but I think money's tighter, and I think people are trying to cut corners. And right or wrong, and moral or immoral, I think, unfortunately, we are in a society where a lot more people might be immoral and might be, willing to cut corners and make an extra $1,500. And they don't want to go and buy prints or get licensed prints or make less money, or they don't want to take the risk. And that, not saying that what this guy, what he did was obviously wrong, but it raises really, really complicated questions. How do people protect their art? And also, who do you have looking out for you? And who do you have on the West Coast covering your ass, for lack of a better word?
I would like to think
not you personally.
No, but I know. I would like to think that the network of fans and fellow artists extends enough to where people can take care of each other. I really like to believe that. Nathan didn't know that I was there, and I know that it's hard to trust other people, because even then it was very hard to tell him that what I saw and who I saw doing that was what was going on. Because, I mean, this is December. I can spot the difference of an inch from a mile away, obviously, but I could tell right away. And it was a very, it's not something that was just instantaneous. It took a little bit of time and scoping out and conversation to happen. So it wasn't just like me striding up to him and going, "Give me your prints. I know what that is." It didn't happen like that at all.
Do you also feel that obviously you stopped them in a counterfeit from being sold, which, I mean, the real winner, and I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible, is the fan in this circumstance?
Not really, because I saw a few fans buy before that. So like when I got there, I was probably like an hour into the con, and I saw people buy them already. So it sucks that I wasn't able to stop them in time.
But you understand what I'm saying, where even if the guy had 15 left, that's 15 counterfeits he didn't sell.
Yeah, but I mean, it still sucks, because I would rather have that guy at least like sold Nathan's art the right way and had Nathan's name get out there and have him be a licensed stealer for him, and just like offered to have sold them correctly and got, because his art would have sold. Like, obviously he's one of the best artists that I know, and his art is exquisite and people want to buy it. It's
where I'm going with this, and this is just how I feel, because I've had counterfeit autographed baseballs and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And it is brutal, and it sucks. It sucks. And it is painful. And unless you've been there, everybody, it is painful and it hurts. It hurts, and it hurts hard. So the point is that I would rather not buy something, because when I buy something, I want to buy something and know it's legit.
Yeah.
And so then I come find out that it's not legit. I'm gonna feel really, really shitty, for lack of a better word. And so it is a win more so for, I think, the fans than anybody else, because if you are a fan and you don't know any better, and this is your first con, and then you come to find out, you're scrolling through Instagram and you see this whole story unfolding, you're like, oh, mine looks a little bit different than that. You feel like you got swindled, and then you don't trust, Nathan's art anymore. You don't trust going to a con anymore. You don't trust buying prints anymore. More damage has been done. So if it was stopped, and even if only 15 or 20 of them were stopped, and maybe 5 of them were sold before, that means that damage was mitigated for a fan, without a doubt. And it's very important that's why I say I think the fan is the real winner, because a fan didn't get that art, but they also didn't get a counterfeit item either. So like, does that make any sense?
Yeah. What really stayed with me though is how many artists like reached out to me during that day though, and it just felt amazing because a lot of time like, and I don't ask any artist to do anything because I know how busy they are, which is why I do a whole bunch of shout outs because I want them to do their art. I don't want them to have to stop what they're doing in order to market. Like, I get how hard that is. That's why I try to do it on their behalf so that they can get more attention. But so many of them stopped what they were doing to say thank you for what like what happened, and like I felt so appreciative for that. Like Anna Zhao made a really really nice message for me and she sent it, and so did April Reina and Nathan too. They were just like, what you did helped so many of us, and like you might not realize it, but that was really cool of you to do that. And honestly, like what I did, this is like just an instinct. I saw someone stealing and I stopped them. That's like, I would have done that for anybody, but especially Nathan's a friend of mine and he does great artwork and I want people to see that. But I would hope that anybody else would do the same thing. But I don't think that anybody else would have. I hope that everybody else would have done the same thing. Like I try to make Batman the animated series proud. That's how I live my life.
It's tricky because confrontations are very complicated.
Yeah, I'm learning that. Like in comics, a lot of people don't really do too well with those. This guy, he's from Chicago, so a lot of us we speak the language of confrontation, and I might be 5 foot of Joe Pesci tank, but it's like I'm not backing down either. Like I saw a thief and I don't take any BS either.
It's very complicated in which confrontations can end well or they can end bad. And this is what I think a lot of stuff happens sometimes is that it's not that people are terrified or they're scared. It's that they don't want to step in. So I'll give an example. I'm a single guy right now. I don't have a girlfriend, but if I was at a con and I had a 3-year-old, there's a good chance that I'm probably not the guy who's going to step in, because if I'm with my wife and she's pregnant and we have a 3-year-old, I have to make a decision saying what is good for my family. And it doesn't sound like a great decision. So he says, but Andrew, you're not stopping a thief. If you see it, I'll say something, but I'm also going to make a determination on my immediate concern. So what do I know what this person is going to do? And what if they just start bull rushing me? And I mean, it happens. So it's a very complicated thing. But you hope that enough people also, I don't want to call out a thief, and then the whole room turns on me, and I'm like, what?
I was polite. I did not use a bullhorn. I was very level-headed. I was calm. I did not shout. I was extremely polite about the whole thing. I did not at any point yell. But I still have to, at this point, I still have to introduce myself and just like, hi, my name is December. I am not going to yell at you. And no, I do not think that you stole anything. It's like, oh yeah, you know me because of that. Okay. But I will say this, for there are a lot of, so for all of you that are tuning in because of the Kickstarter, there is a place for you. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you pop up in my thread. I want you to know that there is a place for you. And please, starting a war with somebody over a Kickstarter is probably not worth it. And it's not going to win you over with your peers in any way. The peer's worth having anyway. This is coming from somebody, I know that you're probably familiar with my rants on a certain person, but that was entirely that person said something about someone who is deceased, so it's an entirely different thing. So good Kickstarters to look for are Wendy. What's up?
Oh, no, continue.
Good Kickstarters to look for are Wendy Steen Shaner. She does Naughty Fairies. Jim Ballant does Broadsword. Also Holly G. They're also affiliated under the same banner with Broadsword Comics. They do phenomenal work. You know them from Catwoman in the 90s run. I'm always talking about it. There's a good reason for it. Every single panel is a work of art. You can get more good Kickstarters with James T. Malloy with Sapphire Spectre. He always does A+ work. So a lot of them you might not even hear of, but those are the good ones to look out for. You're not going to have to worry about any of your items coming in like you wouldn't expect them. Like, I don't like, knock on wood, but those are some great goodies that they send with them. It's really good stories, really great art. JT Malloy does absolutely phenomenal work, and he's one of those untapped gems. So make sure you're on the lookout for him. And then he's also local in Chicago, so terrific artist and one of the nicest guys ever. You know, and one more, Joe Picard. He is a former Disney artist. He does some of the best Kickstarters. I love the goodies that he gives. Those are not safe for work. Make sure that you are over 18 because his are amazing. He does these like every time he does them, he does these trading cards or bookmarks where they're fully clothed on one side and then on the other side they're like topless or nude. I'm fully supportive of like, I'm not going to tell you not to like look at the nudity or anything. I really don't buy the nude books myself. I usually go for the clothes because I like how artists draw the clothes on the ladies. But his are so cute. They're adorable because he came from Disney, and like Brandy Bear and the Redhead Tails. Those are awesome. So yeah, Joe Pekar, Pekar. Look him up. He's on Instagram. He's got a Patreon. Those are fantastic. So those are awesome Kickstarters. Never had a problem with them ever. Those are all like my high tier ones, in my humble opinion.
There's a few. Never had an issue with a Pat Shan Kickstarter.
Really he's like cool.
I enjoy Pat. Yeah. I have a disagreement on certain things with Pat on the issue of Kickstarter and who their customer is. That's a big disagreement between me and Pat. But I enjoy Pat. Pat has always treated me nicely. I like Pat. I like Pat when he writes Robin Hood and Van Helsing. And I know
him and Raven on Facebook are hilarious. Also, yeah. Hi Raven.
I enjoy Raven Gregory. He's been two or three times. Raven is always a good time.
Raven's hilarious. He'll post some stuff. I'm like, dude, he's so funny to talk to too. Sending you a big hug.
I just when Raven comes on, I just let Raven speak. I have like 5 questions. That's it. I have to do no work. It's like the best interview ever. It's so wonderful. Just 5 questions with Raven Gregory. Like every week, I should just do that show with Raven. It'd be a blast.
Like if Raven was, I wish I was back in wrestling just so I could bring Raven there and have him hang out with the guys. That would be just awesome. He would fit in right away. They would love him.
Raven is something else. Anytime Raven wants an interview, I actually do want Raven for when he does Widow's Web, the last stuff with that. And I would love to have Raven on sometime during the last run of Wonderland that he's got going on. I am having David Wall on.
Cool.
So that's going to be an exciting interview. Definitely, I'm stoked for that because I've been running through their freaking roster. I've had Ralph, Joe, Pat, Dave Franchini, Dave Wall's on there. I've had Marissa Pope. A lot of people.
I love Marissa. She's awesome.
Yeah, no, she's. I enjoy her work. I enjoy when she does really bright, colorful covers. That have like I love her skies hitting like the horizon. Like I just like that aspect of her artwork is just so good. And then like it just makes the character pop out. It's so amazing. But I digress. I could talk about Marissa Pope for like hours on end. Easy. But I digress. Obviously, we covered a lot of stuff. I think hopefully people are pleasantly surprised, because I think that we took a different approach, because I wanted people to know who you are versus saying what you're known for. Because I don't think, and it's just my opinion, that you get a fair shot at everything else that you've done up to this point. And I think that that's an issue. But and I think it's important that people actually know what people do beyond just their incident that occurred, or a few incidents, or a few spouts might be a good way to put it, a few scrimmages, if you will. But I do want to give you a chance to self-promote. So where can people find you, bother you, hit you up, see what you're doing, see what you're promoting, all that fun stuff?
Everybody bothers me. No, I love fans. Thank you for hanging out with me and for hearing what I had to say. If you're a fan of Andrew's and for hearing me for the last few minutes here, I appreciate it, and for giving me a shot. If you wanted to catch up on some comic gossip, I hope I did you right. Or if you're a fan of mine, I can't tell you how awesome it is that you've been hanging with me these past few years. I see you. I appreciate you. You know that. I wouldn't be here without you. So good news. Wendy has a new issue of Naughty Fairies coming out, and I will be on a cover. I have to get that to her soon. So I'm still running over some ideas right now, but I will be on the upcoming Naughty Fairies issue number 6. I still have some issues of the wrestling special that she did. If you would like to get one, I can sign it and send it to you. Or you can hit up Wendy. She still has goodies, I'm sure, from the last Kickstarter that she did. Also, still number 1 in Kickstarters that I've supported. And trust me, they've been a lot. I have my poetry is still on my blog. If you would like to give that a shot, you can still read that. It's all for free. My matches are on my former YouTube channel. I don't have access to it anymore, but the matches that I did upload when I had access to it are on there. I think it's /the Miss December. I'm not sure, but I can get you the correct link. I'm pretty sure that's the one that I used. But my matches are still online for free. Want to get that fan outreach there so you can still adore me. Back when I kicked ass for pay. Now I just do it for free.
And then you got more to promote? Go right ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, if you have more to promote, go right ahead. I was going to promote myself, but I'll let you finish.
So I'll be writing some more. Halloween is right around the corner, so I will do some more photo shoots with my favorite holiday coming right up around the corner, and probably writing a little bit more. But stay tuned for that cover. It's coming up. I hope that you will take a look at it, enjoy, and stay tuned for that Kickstarter because I will be promoting that one. You can also hit up Alton Simpson for the latest. It was Vampires of.
He just did Witches of Westchester. I know he did.
No, it wasn't that one. It was I forget the number of it. It was Vampires in New Jersey, but I forget the number.
It was 7 or 8, right?
Yeah, but I get confused on the numbers. It was awesome. It was I did a stained glass cosplay, and then there was also a candle one, but they're both in foil and they look really, really good. So if you want to order that one, I have some, and then Alton has some too, I think. But I can sign that for you, and then I can also send you some extra goodies. But yeah, if you need anything that I can sign for you, I also have 8x10s. I'm happy to sign those for you too. Also, I have opened the vault to my comics. So if you're looking for something that I might have, I'm trying to get rid of some of my comics for space, because I am running out of space and I need to keep collecting comics and supporting Kickstarters. And really, that's about like the only reason I'm doing it is because I really, really, really need that space back. So if you are looking for something and I can help you find it, please hit me up. I do have it probably, and I would love to help you find it. So hit me up. It's been a pleasure kind of on this site for about the last couple of hours that I've wasted my time. So I'll take it back over to Andrew.
Yeah, so I'm going to quickly put myself here. Obviously, I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter /X. Instagram is Pop Anime Comics. Facebook is Pop Anime Comics. YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. Please subscribe on YouTube. I have like 1,100, almost 1,200 videos, probably close to 600-700 interviews. A lot of micro content up there. A lot of TikToks are coming. Shorts are coming. Also, if you want to look at me up on TikTok, you can go find me on TikTok at Pop Anime Comics. And so I got a lot of content. I'm probably releasing anywhere from 20 to 30 videos a week. So there's something for everybody out there. And you don't know who's coming on my show ever, whether that's a voice actor, a professional wrestler, cosplayer, comic writer, a variety of other people, authors. I've interviewed porn stars, you name it. I've interviewed everybody. I've interviewed crypto experts, and the list is just going to keep growing. Hey, I'm gonna get a national security advisor on eventually. So it's fascinating, and definitely you know what's coming. Also, my eBay store, Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. I buy and sell a lot of books, a lot of rare books, a lot of low print runs, 65 or under. 250s or under. So if you're looking for books in that realm, as well as a bunch of other just cool stuff that is really hard to find. And I saw a lot of baseball cards, and I saw a lot of rare stuff. So if you're looking for something, I also might have it. So that's just something to pay attention to, and you never know what's coming into my store. And this Friday should be fun. This Friday should be a lot of fun what's coming in my store. So I'm going to leave it at that. And yeah, that's everything I got. So I'm going to give you the final word.
I'm tired.
Okay, I believe that's right. I believe that is a wrap, everybody.